Hi, everybody, and welcome to English Digest. I'm Pat.
And I'm Elsie.
And we're looking at our writing unit for this month. It's a topic-based writing unit about the use of emoji. So what kind of emoji, stickers, and other things do you often use?
I love to use emoji stickers, especially line stickers. I love all of them.
Do you have any particular ones that you find yourself using again and again?
Like thank you, but with the very cute girl with the big thumbs up. I like to use that one a lot.
Okay.
I don't like to talk on the phone, so I really prefer to use emoji stickers.
All right, fair enough. I suppose I would probably use more with my wife than anybody else. She has a whole bunch of Peko-chan stickers that turn up a lot. And a friend of hers made some that use pictures of our son. So he's now got his set of emoji stickers that we use. Otherwise, I'm not a big user, except with her.
So do you prefer to talk on the phone than texting?
I'm fine with texting, but I don't use emoji. I write with words more often.
But sometimes if you need to type long, like a lot of words, it's kind of annoying.
I might just maybe the thumbs up is just kind of like, okay, got it, thanks.
Yes.
Maybe that's about as much as I would do. But anyway, let's take a look at this article and see whether our writers agree with our opinions. The instructions are, with the development of technology, people can send text messages anytime. Many people use emoji when texting. Some people think that using emoji can help convey tone in text messages and thus facilitate communication, while others think that emoji will hinder communication, in other words, make it more difficult. So the idea is here we're writing 2 paragraphs, and in the first one we describe how you or other people use emoji when texting, and in the second paragraph you're explaining why and whether using emoji will make it harder or easier to communicate and why.
今天的主题写作呢，我们要写的是叙述论说文哦。那提示的地方呢，同学们要注意。他说啊，随着科技的进步，人们随时都可以传送文字讯息。那也有许多人呢，传讯息的时候会使用表情符号，也就是我们刚刚说到的 emoji。那有些人认为表情符号能够使生硬的文字有语气的变化，而且呢，能够使得沟通更顺畅。但是也有些人认为呢，使用表情符号会阻碍沟通。那这边就要请同学们写一篇英文作文，说明你对此议题的看法。注意哦，文分2段。第一段呢，要先描述你个人，或是你观察到其他人传文字讯息时候使用表情符号的习惯。第二段接着说明你认为使用表情符号能否促进沟通，还是会阻碍沟通。那原因为何，要记得写出来。文长至少是120个单词。
So since this is about us, we'll be using first-person perspective. I do this, I think this. Although I suppose if you don't use emoji, but you're describing somebody else who does, in your first paragraph you could say, he does this. My mum always sends me this emoji and it's wrong. That kind of thing. Now, you'll be using present tense as it's what you or someone usually does, generally thinks, and so on. But if there is a previous experience that supports your argument in the second paragraph, you could use past tense there.
OK, 那这边呢，我们会以第一人称为主要写作的方式，还有就是现在简单式、现在式系列。那再来到了 develop and approach 的地方，第一个，何谓叙述论说文呢？我们复习一下哦。叙述论说文呢，指的是一篇文章当中涵盖叙述跟论说的2种文体。那近期啊，频繁的出现在大考的作文当中。例如呢，112年学测表情符号的功能和可能造成的困扰，就是这样子的一篇作文。还有呢，110年指考，你对英语授课要如何因应跟规划？还有109年指考，校园安全的重要性跟采取措施这类的文体呢，第一部分你要先叙述某个现象、经验或是事件，那第二个部分呢，再针对主题加以论说，提出结论。这2个部分的顺序呢，也是可以对调的。
So the first part of the essay is a descriptive piece. It's what you use, when you use them, who you use them with, and so on. After that comes the argumentative part, trying to convince somebody that you have the right idea. This is where you start using the language of supporting details, connecting reasons, and so on.
再来，写什么怎么写。英文作文的架构呢，基本上分为引言 introduction、文章主体 body， 还有就是结论 conclusion 的部分。那本篇叙述论说文呢，也是要以这样的架构发展哦。
As with all essays, we need the introduction to let people know what the topic is about. And there are a few different ways to do this.
Introduction 是文章的引言，所以我们要说明文章要探讨的主题跟动机。那全文的主旨句，也就是 thesis statement， 常常在第一段就会点出来。那在描述经验合并论说文的文章当中 ，Introduction 有以下几种方法。第一个，直接开始叙述这个现象、经验或是事件。第二个，说明一般人对此主题的看法。那以下呢，我们等一下要看到的两篇范文都是在开头点出自己的经验。
Your introduction should be short and get straight to the point. You'll want to use the keyword emoji in the first sentence or maybe the second, or texting could be another important word to use. Now you could start by introducing your emoji first, or you could start by giving a situation in which you use it. Now if you don't use emoji and that's what you're going to write about, then you definitely want to state it in the introduction, like I don't use emoji.Something like that.
接下来到了 body 的部分，就是文章的主体。那主要分为两大部分哦。依照题目要求，第一部分必须要先描述你个人，或是你观察到其他人传文字讯息的时候，使用表情符号的习惯。那这个就是叙述的部分。第二部分呢，说明你认为使用表情符号能否促进沟通，亦或是会阻碍沟通。跟其原因，也就是论说的部分。那要注意议论的方向必须要呼应第一段所描述的内容，以维持文章的一致性跟连贯性。
The body is all the key information. In the first paragraph, it's going to be all the emoji that you use a lot. Start with the most frequently used one, because that's the main one. Then move on to the others that you still use a lot, but maybe not quite as often. Make sure you explain the situations in which you use each emoji.On the other hand, if you don't use emoji, you can explain that in the first paragraph, or maybe talk a bit more about the ones you receive rather than send, maybe how that makes you feel. For the second paragraph, you'll be presenting your reasons for or against, connecting them up with all the usual conjunctions and transitions.
最后到了 conclusion， 也就是文章的结论部分，综合个人的经验跟立场，总结表情符号如何促进或是阻碍沟通。那文章在结尾处呢，文句应该是简洁有力的，切勿提出新的想法哦，才能让读者留下深刻的印象。
The conclusion of your final passage should just wrap up your thoughts about emoji, good or bad. Don't add any new information in the conclusion. Just bring things back around to the key point and topic sentence that you started probably your second paragraph with rather than the full essay.
接下来要到了 brainstorming time， 也就是脑力激荡的时间啦。我们可以透过呢以下这张图表来架构这篇写作的内容哦。那要先描述自己或是其他人传文字讯息的时候，使用表情符号的习惯，并且写下自己的立场跟理由。最后呢，你就可以把图表所列出来的重点延伸整理成你的 outline。To
brainstorm for this article, you could make a list of emoji you use, the reasons why you use them, or the reasons why you don't. There are several ways you could do this. You could do a basic list, some bullet points, just a few notes on a piece of paper, whatever. But in our article, in the magazine, we're presenting a chart that's quite useful to follow. So the chart starts with real-life experience. That's what we start with. What's your real-life experience of emoji?And we've got somebody writing an answer. I use emoji every day. I use different laughing emoji the most often. So that's kind of saying when and what. By the way, emoji is generally used as a plural noun even though there's no S. It comes from Japanese and English doesn't tend to pluralize those. So sushi remains sushi, kimono remains kimono. Sometimes you'll see it used with an S, but generally we choose to keep it as emoji even for the plural.OK,
那在我们的图表最上方看到的是 real life experience， 就是真实的生活经验。那他说他每天都有使用 emoji。那刚刚 Pat 有提到呢 emoji 这个字啊，它其实是个复数哦，但是呢不加 s， 直接 emoji 就可以是复数型了。那接下来我们看到左边的图表是 facilitate or hinder， 那就是促进还是阻碍，那就要由你来决定了。决定之后呢，右手边写出原因，所以你在上方看到的是 why it's quicker， 好，比较快，比较方便。那还有呢 example， 你所使用的 emoji 的项目是什么，例子是什么，也可以把它写出来。
Yeah, so you could say, why do we use emoji? They communicate feelings better. And the example to support this, sending someone a tears of joy emoji feels more genuine than typing ha ha. Now, this is one, even though I'm not a big emoji user, I definitely agree with. If someone just writes ha ha, like, I don't believe they actually find that funny. It sounds like they're being polite.
Sarcastic, right?
Yeah, it's a pity laugh. It's like, I see you've tried to make a joke. It's not funny, but I'll acknowledge you've tried.
Yes, so I like to use that tears of joy emoji too.
It does actually feel a little more real. And another reason for why you might use emoji, well, they're just fun. They bring some life and color to your day, that kind of thing. So there are 3 different examples of why somebody might use emoji and an example to support one of them. You don't really need to support the idea of they're just fun. You don't need to give reasons why something is fun. It's just fun. So that's our chart to start off with. We've also, just to explain again, the word facilitate means to make things easier, and hinder means to make things more difficult.
没错，这2个动词非常的重要。再说一次哦 ，facilitate 是促进使便利，那相反就是 hinder 阻碍。
So these reasons are pretty simple, okay? They're quicker, they communicate better, and they're fun. And these are all used in the basic sample. When we look at the advanced sample, which takes the hinder opinion, there's a little more detail for us to get our teeth into. But right now, we're going to move on to making an outline based on that chart that gave us our brainstormed ideas. So we want to put the all that information into the right order of sentences. Now, your outline doesn't have to include every single thing. You can make your outline shorter and then you add more details, transitions, connections, everything else a bit later on. So you start with paragraph 1 and its introduction. And it says, how often do I use emoji? Every day. Now, it is actually okay to introduce an article with a question. If you happen to have seen the college entrance exam for the past year, the one that was studied in January, 2 of the passages started with questions. And it's fine. What it does is give the article a kind of light, conversational tone. It feels like rather than writing some serious analysis of something, you're kind of having a chat, a friendly chat with somebody. So it might not always be appropriate to start an article with a question if you're writing something formal and academic.
没错，在作文的开头上呢，你放上问句是 OK 的哈，它会有一种轻松简单的感觉。但是如果你是在写比较正式的，像是学术型的文章，那可能就不适合了。所以呢，我们刚刚在开头句看到他自问自答，好，他说我到底多常使用 emoji 呢？答案是每天，所以代表我们的作者是相当喜欢使用 emoji 的。那接下来会到了 details 的部分。
Right, yeah, just back to that idea of a question. Just think before you use it. How do I want my article to seem? Formal and academic or kind of light and fun? And again, with the reasons this person's giving, the emoji are fun to use, it's appropriate to use a light, fun, conversational tone. So now we get into the details of the first paragraph. What emoji are used and when and why? So A, I use them when I'm sending messages to friends, family members and classmates. Okay, fairly standard. I use plenty of line stickers and GIFs in my messages. Now, you'll hear some people say GIFs and some people say GIFs. I think they're both actually okay. C, I use different laughing emoji, especially the laughing while crying one. And D, I tend to send people a kissing face emoji when I say goodbye.
OK， 接下来呢，我们看到呢，作者提供了4项的细节。第一个是，我跟朋友、家人、同学传讯息的时候都会使用 emoji。再来呢，我常使用的是 line stickers， 也就是 line 贴图，还有就是 GIFs。那接下来我特别喜欢用笑到流泪的表情贴图，这个他就在举例咯。接下来他说再见的时候呢，会用的是笑脸亲吻的表情贴图。那接下来我们会到了 second paragraph 第2段，我们就来说明呢，使用表情贴图可以达到什么样的效果。
Now, you could add a concluding sentence to that first paragraph, but it's not super necessary because it's descriptive rather than an argument. You don't need to conclude the description particularly. But now we move on to paragraph 2, the reasons why they make communication easier or more difficult. Now, since we're making a choice, what does it do, A or B, we need to make a topic sentence for this paragraph that states your thesis. And it is, I find that they can facilitate communication. So a very clear topic sentence. There's no kind of, I'm not sure what this writer thinks. The writer is putting their opinion nicely and clearly.
是的，他直接就点出了，我觉得它可以促进沟通，他指的就是 emoji 这些表情图片。那接下来就要陈出你的理由跟原因咯。So what are the reasons here?
Well, the reasons, of course, we covered in our chart, so now you just kind of plug them into the article. A, it's quicker to find one and use it than to type a full word meaning the same thing. B, they communicate feelings better. C, using emoji makes me feel like I'm having a face-to-face conversation with a person and can see all their reactions. So that's a great bit of extra detail that's not in the chart, but it's good to add. D, they're just fun.
OK， 那这边我们也看到了4个细节。第一个是比起打字，使用表情包是更快速的，还有呢，更能表达情感。再来，好像是跟人面对面在说话，他加了这个，好像是 having a face-to-face conversation 的感觉，就是跟人面对面进行沟通的意思。那最后呢，他说 they're just fun， 有趣好玩，也是一个重大的原因。
Yeah, and that conclusion, they're just fun, really does sum up everything the writer thinks. And just like a question being not a really formal essay introduction, this conclusion, they're just fun, this isn't a formal academic conclusion. But that's okay, because in this way, the tone of the introduction matches the tone of the conclusion. There wasn't a serious introduction, it was a fun question. There wasn't a serious conclusion, it's just a fun statement. And that makes the article seem like one cohesive piece. The tone is consistent.
在我们这个架构之前呢，我们看到的是他第一句开头句说 How often do I use emoji? Every day. 好，是一个非常轻松简单的口吻。他在最后 conclusion 结尾句的部分也是用轻松的口吻写成，他说 They're just fun. 他们就是好玩，所以它算是一个前后呼应，口吻都是用一样的口气。
So, of course, your outline, you add details, transitions, and so on as you turn it into a full essay. You can make sure your structure is fine in the outline, make sure it's logical, and you do all this before you write because it's much easier to alter an outline and see what you need to add or take out than it is to go back and alter the full essay. So we're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll be looking at the 2 samples in full. So let's start with our basic sample. How often do I use emoji? Every day. I use them when I'm sending messages to friends, family members, and classmates. I also use plenty of line stickers and GIFs in my messages. Which ones do I use the most often? I would have to say the different laughing emoji, especially the laughing while crying one. I also tend to send people a kissing face emoji when I say goodbye. Why do I use so many emoji? Well, I find that they can facilitate communication. They do this in several ways. First, it's quicker to find one and use it than to type a full word meaning the same thing. Second, I think they communicate feelings better. Sending someone a tears of joy emoji feels more genuine than typing ha ha. Using emoji makes me feel like I'm having a face-to-face conversation with a person and can see all their reactions. Finally, they're just fun. So here we're following the outline pretty closely. You'll notice there's another question in the middle of the first paragraph and another question to start the second paragraph. And again, this is all making the tone consistent. The whole thing does feel like somebody is answering like a conversation question in a speaking part of an exam rather than writing. And it's absolutely okay to do this. And also notice the second paragraph's got the first, second, finally, those kind of transitions to really build the reasons one into the next.
是的，我们刚刚有提到说啊，它的开头跟结尾都是轻松简单的口吻。那看完这个基础的范文会发现呢，它第二段开头也是用一个轻松简单口吻的问句，好来开头的。然后呢，他接着又说 well， 好，这个也是一个比较轻松叙述的方式。那接下来呢，他在提到理由的时候是很清楚的，他用 first, second。那最后呢，他就用了 finally 来带出。
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the tone and stuff of the first one. Now let's take a look at the advanced sample and see what's going on here. Advanced sample. Personally, I don't utilize any emoji when I'm chatting with other people on instant messaging apps or social media. However, I know lots of people who do. I don't mind them sending them to me, but I won't respond in kind.A few people have pointed that out, and it seems to have become one of my quirks. I receive the usual assortment: laughing faces, thumbs up, waving hands, etc. Every now and then, I'll get one that's unfamiliar to me, so I have to puzzle out what the other person is trying to say. That's my main gripe with emoji. They hinder communication. They're supposed to represent emotions,But for me, they can often obscure the meaning. A crying emoji could mean someone is feeling sad themselves, or that they're sympathetic to what I'm saying. Laughter could be with me or at me. Often, there's not enough context to tell. It gets worse when people send messages with multiple emoji. On a small screen, these can be so small that the message becomes indecipherable.What's more, I find that people who send endless emoji instead of actual replies are not particularly interesting to talk to. Emoji can become just a lazy way for people to reply when they can't be bothered to think of something more engaging. Emoji should be used to accompany a conversation, not take the place of one.So, as you can see, we have quite the opposite opinion here, and in these longer sentences with a few more negative words, then the tone is also opposite as well. There's no questions, there's nothing that makes this feel like a chat. This is somebody really kind of, I've got something to say that I'm not really happy about, and I'm going to say it.
没错，我们的进阶范文呢，跟基础范文是很不一样的。口气上、口吻上呢是比较 serious、比较严肃一些的。然后呢，它跟基础范文完全相反的地方是，他觉得 emoji 也就是表情符号、贴图这些东西呢，是会阻碍沟通的。那他在第一段开头，他用 personally 这个字带出他自身的经验，自己是用不到任何表情贴图的。那原因呢，他就在第二段点出，也就是 they hinder communication， 他们会阻碍沟通。那接着他用 what's more 带出更多的原因理由。
So there is a grammar point to look at in this more advanced sample, the use of seems to show how something appears to be based on surface evidence, though when we use it, we're admitting we're not 100% certain.
是的，这个 seem 的用法呢，在这篇占了相当重要的比例哦。他说啊 ，seem 它是有似乎、看起来好像的意思。那我们用 seem 来推测的是事实或是描述表象，它是一个连缀动词哦，常以名词、形容词和不定词作为主词补语。那句型会是呢，主词出来之后加上 seem 这个动词，接下来第一种你可以是 to be 加上名词，第二种 to be 加上形容词，或是第三种 to 加上原形动词。那给同学们一个例句哦。The puppy seems to like this toy better than the other ones. 好，我们看到的是 seems to 加上原形动词 like 喜欢的用法。那这句在说的是呢，小狗似乎好像比较喜欢这个玩具，而不是其他的。那接下来啊，如果不定词所表达的动作状态是在动词 seem 之前发生的，那我们就要使用不定词完成式，也就是 to have 加上 VPP， 也就是过去分词。所以我们在进阶范文中呢，第一段看到的是 A few people have pointed that out, and it seems to have become one of my quirks. To have become 比 seems 还要早发生。
So now let's take a look at a few of the vocabulary words and phrases from the advanced sample. We've got stickers and GIFs or GIFs. Sticker is just what Line calls all its little cartoons and stuff that it puts in there. And a GIF or GIF, graphics interchange format. It's, again, a little moving picture often taken from a movie or a TV show that's just used kind of as a reaction to something else.
没错 ，sticker 就是我们在 Line 上面会看到的通讯软体上面的贴图。那 GIF 或 GIF 两个发音都是可以的。它呢比较专业的说法是图像互换格式，那就是一种档案格式，常常被用来制作网络上的动图。
A lot of the other words and phrases in here are fairly obvious from the context. Gripe is a good one. If you have a gripe with something, that's your complaint. That's your problem with it. And also notice how that these two paragraphs are very closely connected. The first paragraph ends with a negative point about emoji, and the second paragraph connects from that to talk about this is an example of the man's main issue or the writer's main issue.
是的，我们说到 gripe， 它是一个名词，要特别小心，是不满或是抱怨。那在基础跟进阶范文中呢，作者在第二段都说明使用表情符号会促进或是阻碍沟通，那都举出了很实际的理由，还有实际的例子。好，所以我们在 advanced sample 进阶范文里面也看到了这样子，作者加入例子，说明表情符号如何使意思难以理解。
Another good word is indecipherable. If you can decipher something, it means you can read it. So if something is indecipherable, that's the adjective form, you can't read it.
也就是难辨认的、难懂的。OK， 所以呢，再提醒同学们一次啊，在写作中呢，适当加入实际的例子或是个人的经验，都可以更详细的点出你的论点，也可以增强作者论点的说服力。
Okay, and the final phrase we're going to look at is can't be bothered to do something, followed by just the base form of the verb. If you can't be bothered to do something, you know you should do it, but you don't really have the energy or motivation. And it's a negative phrase. If you say, I can't be bothered to do this, you're saying that the thing isn't worth your time, but you're also saying, I'm a bit lazy. If you say it about someone else, he can't be bothered to doing something, you're kind of making a judgment saying, this person's bad, they're not putting in the effort and energy. And so it's a very kind of negative way to sum up this whole paragraph.
对啊，也就是这个人呢，他懒得去做某事，根本不想费力去做。
Although he does end, or she, they end with the good statement, emoji should accompany a conversation, not take the place of one. So it's kind of saying like, yeah, there's a place for emoji in the world, but not just as a lazy way to talk.
Right, and we can use emoji or stickers all the time.
Exactly. Sometimes you really need to communicate. Okay, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening to us, everybody. For English Digest, I'm Pat.
I'm Elsie.
We'll talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.